COVID pandemic and the ensuing crisis have turned the world upside down. So today we ask, has the once favorite child, the property sector, now become the black sheep? David Leechiu joins us this morning. Hi, David. Good morning.
Hi, Mimi. Good morning.
Good morning. So, property demand in the first half of the year is down 76% compared to the first half of last year. The pie is definitely smaller, and you're seeing demand from POGO evaporating from 40% to just 3%. But here's the catch. You actually think they're going to come back by September? What makes you say so?
I think because they will make some kind of settlement with the government today. So they got clamped down with the ECQ, and they were only allowed to open when they settled things with the BIR. And I think things were too far apart in terms of the compromise. But now I think they're much closer. So many of my POGO clients are already back in operation because they were able to get the POGO clearance and the BIR clearance. And if we want to recover faster from this crisis, I think we have to get as many jobs out there and active as much as we can. So between now and September, there will be compromises between the government and the POGO that will allow more and more POGOs to operate at full capacity. Because right now, they're really suffering because many of the ones who are allowed to operate are only doing so at 30% capacity, which is still very low.
Mm-hmm. So, David, you don't think that this drop in POGOs will be permanent, and you're confident that the compromise will be reached?
I think a compromise will be reached because frankly the money at stake is just too big for the Philippines.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, right now I think the total collections is around 15 billion or 40 billion, somewhere there.
But
POGO is the largest or second largest contributor to the treasury. So I think, and it's not just that, it's the real estate taxes will be lost in all the LGUs if they just packed up and gone. Now, there's all this concern that, what if this industry all of a sudden disappears? Well, I think they have the power to do so, to just pack up and go. However, if they pack up and go, they need a destination. They need a destination to land to, right? What that means is that the total market of POGO today is 1.7 million square meters. If all these companies said, I want to leave the Philippines today, they frankly have nowhere to go because the countries that they are looking at, whether it's Malta or Malaysia or Vietnam, Cambodia, Myanmar, these cities don't have enough office space. Even if you combine all the vacant space in all these cities, it won't be enough to house this 1.7 million square meters. So they have to start doing deals with the landlords to say, hey, build me an office building, it will be finished in 18 months, 2 years, and I will lease it. Or build me a warehouse in 6 months, 9 months, and I will lease it. Well, that's a big risk for many developers in these countries. So I think if they ever decide to leave, they will leave in a gradual basis. So in a period of 3 to 4 years.
But hopefully they won't leave permanently. David, I wanted to go back to the report that you have. While the pie is smaller, if you break it down on a quarterly basis, there was actually a pickup in demand from Q1 to Q2. Surprising. Where did that come from?
BPOs.
Okay.
So again, the Philippine market is unique in the world that it is the only one that has not contracted. In fact, it's growing. It's still growing. So it's growing at a much slower pace, but it is still growing. So I think that's a good thing. Even if you netted out all the companies that contracted, we're still growing by about 150,000 square meters, more or less. And the BPO market is the one driving it.
Okay, and now looking at the supply side, you're expecting a supply deficit by 2023. Is that going to be a function of growing demand or developers not building enough fast enough because of this crisis?
I think the numbers are more reasonable and rational in 2023 because frankly in the last 4 years we built too much office space, and my God. I mean, thank God for the POGO sector to absorb all that, or else we'd be in trouble 4 years ago, right? So I think the next 2 to 3 years will be a fasting period. So for lack of a better analogy, we kind of put on way too much weight in the last 4 years, and now it's time to trim down. So we got to start fasting again, dieting, working out, so that in 2023 we'll be in reasonable shape. The POGO sector put the property market on steroids, and we just need time to wind those steroids down and flush it out from the system.
Okay, but from the residential side, from the private sector side, are you expecting or are you already seeing a huge rush to try and buy property today? I mean, if you look at the underlying conditions, they seem great. Low rates, which means mortgages are fantastic. Asking prices may be dropping somehow. Terms are stretched. So, are you seeing the buying happening?
Yes, definitely. I mean, you look at so let's break it down, right? So first, the pre-selling market. The developers all said, wow, we're in a really bad crisis, so it's time to do deals. And so everyone, all the top 15 developers in total still sold 66 billion pesos in reservation sales of units. And they did that by relaxing terms, by lowering down payments, by lowering interest rates. And because they were able to do deals, they were able to bring terms down. They were able to do deals, and the buyers came out of hiding. Second, the mid-end market. The mid-end market are probably the hardest hit today, and we won't see them in action for a while. Now, the upper middle. So the unit owners in BGC and Rockwell, those guys are also holding on to their assets. They want to liquidate. They are trimming down prices from 15% to as much as 20%, and still no buyers. Why? Because the buyers on the other side, the upper middle, are also looking to do deals. They want to do deals at these levels, but they can't because the banks are not lending. Many of the buyers in the upper middle need financing, and they can't get financing around. So that segment of the market is frozen. Now, what is interesting is the dramatic change in mindset in the upper class. The upper class in the luxury market who have been waiting for a moment like this all this time are saying, you know what? I just realized in my 70s and 80s that what am I doing with all this money? I've lived all my life so frugally. Maybe it's time to live a little. And so they're handing more money down to their children. They are buying second homes, third homes. And so the number of inspections for beach homes in Albaya, in Punta Fuego, in Kawayan, have all spiked. Balisin has done so well. It's become the escape pod for the wealthy in the Philippines to go to Balisin. So I think the dramatic change in heart in the upper classes is going to be long term.
David,
and so you're going to see more money from this segment.
David, very interesting. I wanted to note that sales performance in all segments quarter on quarter actually fell except for one, the upscale. And this is for properties worth 7 to 12 million pesos. It seems like a sweet spot. What do you make? Why do you think so? Is there a psychology to it?
Because the developers in this segment all said, okay, let's cut. Let's expand. Let's be more lenient with payment terms. Let's give them lower borrowing costs, and that's what drove it.
Okay, and final question: hotels. In the U.S., at least, Starwood Capital Investments is estimating that 25 to 30% of hotels in New York City could just go bankrupt. What risks are you seeing here in Metro Manila?
I think Metro Manila will be hard hit. It will continue to be hard hit. There was a bit of escape because the BPOs and the POGOs needed the hotels for temporary housing and living office. But it's going to take them some time. The domestic market is 92% of the total tourism market in the Philippines. That domestic market is going to travel outside of Manila. And so the foreign market is going to take time to come. But when the POGOs, so I think the POGOs will pick them up first. So the POGOs will need housing, and the hotels will be able to provide that. So they will just need to lease their spaces to POGOs for the meantime, and some hotels are converting to office space. the 20, 30 square meter hotel room can be converted to a two-man office space with social distancing. And I think that's what some companies are experimenting with.
Okay. On that note, thank you very much, David, for joining us this morning.